Loud.
To introduce you to John Jam Coffey. John grew up in Canada and went to school in Elmira. He visited the Philippines one summer and his heart broke for the children who lived in small homes and often scavenged in the garbage dump to sell items for food in their families. He came back to Canada to become a teacher to help the Filipino children. He went back, married Jam, and they had a baby, Apple. John and Jam work for an organization called IT Tender, where they provide education for children who wouldn't be able to afford to go to school. They are here to tell us about life in the Philippines. I look forward to hearing more about their work because my mom and I will be going to visit them in the spring for a few weeks. Please listen to see how school is different there than ours.
Hello. Got a microphone here. Let's see.
Is that good, Tim?
Is that on?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Good afternoon, boys and squirrels. How are you guys doing? Good. So thank you, Braylon, for that wonderful introduction. As she said, I'm John. This is my wife, Jam. And we work for a charity in the Philippines. Now, can some of you tell me what a charity is? Why don't you put your hand up if you can tell me what is a charity? Yeah? Good. That could be one thing. That's a great answer. So it's a group of people that fund other people that maybe can't pay for food. What else?
It's like an organization that helps people or animals that are in need.
Great. An organization that helps people or animals. That's right. It doesn't even have to be people. Charities do all different things. What they have in common is that they're helping people, often raising funds to help people. So we work for a charity called International Teams Tender, or IT Tender. Tender because of the care we're providing to children in Manilla, Philippines. Manila is the capital of the Philippines. Now, can anybody tell me where in the world the Philippines is? Yes?
South of China.
Yeah, very good answer. Just south of China. So it's in Southeast Asia. So if you know your Asian countries, Japan, Korea, are all nearby, Southeast Asia. And if you think about the globe, so let's just imagine Jam's head is the globe here. And if we are in Canada, if Canada's here on the back of our head, the Philippines is actually literally on the complete other side of the globe. So you would have to travel all the way around the tip of her nose, that would be the Philippines, literally on the complete other side. So for example, if it's 1:30 p.m. now, what time do you think it is in the Philippines? Yes?
1:30 in the morning.
Exactly, 1:30 a.m. right now. So all the Filipinos your age are probably sound asleep in their beds at this time. And now just looking at this picture, this kind of collage of different pictures, what do you think our charity does? What do you think IT Tender does? You know we work in the Philippines. Yes?
It helps like kids who can't go to school and also kids in need.
Very good. So you can tell that we're helping kids go to school. You may see a child with a backpack or a pencil in the classroom or someone who's wearing a graduation cap. And you said children in need. How can you tell they're in need just from looking up here? Yes?
I can tell that most kids don't have the same clothes that like we wear and as nice clothes as we wear in church.
So she said even just by looking at the clothes, you can tell they may not have as much as we have. Even this boy here, you can see doesn't even have a shirt in that photo. Sometimes they only have one outfit or not very many. And now before I talk more about our charity and explain in detail what we do, I thought it might be fun for Jam to teach you guys a song. Would that be all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you guys actually know this song. I'm sure you've been singing it since you're about this high. Put your hand up if you know Head and Shoulders, Knees and Toes. Okay. You're like, yeah, I've done that before. But put your hand up if you can sing it in Tagalog. Okay, so Tagalog is the language of the Philippines, the official language. Most Filipinos speak Tagalog. Jam grew up speaking Tagalog. So you're going to learn 4 Tagalog words. Jan's going to teach you head, shoulders, knees, and toes in Tagalog.
All right. So here I know that you start with your head, but in the Philippines we start with our toes. Interesting, eh? So toes will be paa. Can you say paa?
Paa.
And then knees will be tuhod.
Tuhod.
And then shoulder, balikat.
Balikat.
Head is ulo.
Ulo.
Again, paa,
Paa.
tuhod,
Tuhod.
balikat,
Balikat.
ulo.
Ulo.
What is this?
Paa.
Tuhod,
Balikat. Tulog. Tulog.
ulo. Again, paa, tuhod, balikat, ulo. Paa, tuhod, balikat, ulo. What is this? This? Paa. Okay. So with the song we say it like this. Paa, tuhod, balikat, ulo. Paa, tuhod, balikat, ulo. Paa, tuhod, balikat, ulo. Paa, tuhod, balikat, ulo. That's all. Can you stand up and do it with me? Okay.
Is this tricky? Yeah.
Ready?
Stand up or sit down?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. Faster.
I told him he could. It was when he was
Okay, I'll let Jan take a seat. Okay. Okay, so if we look at the next picture, I'm going to show you our team. So I lead a team of Filipinos. I'm the only non-Filipino on the team. I actually moved to the Philippines 8 years ago. I actually grew up in this area. If you know, put up your hand if you know Elmira. Okay, not far from here. Okay, that's where I went to school when I was your age. But moved to the Philippines to work with this wonderful group of people. You can see someone in my arms. That's our little daughter, me and Jim's daughter, Allie. And so my co-workers are teachers. Again, our passion and our mission is to provide an education so that street children can become well-educated and responsible leaders in their community. So in the next picture, I'm going to talk about some of our programs. So we have programs for kids from all ages. So this is what's called an early childhood education center. And this is for toddlers. And you can see this boy has someone with him. That's actually his mother. So our program, this early childhood program, is not a daycare where mothers drop their kids off. Actually, the mothers, many of them single mothers, the mothers join the program. And so we want to help empower the mothers for them to be teaching their children, feeding their children, and many of these mothers have actually never finished elementary school themselves. On the next slide, this is a very typical home for an urban poor family in Manila, Philippines. On the right, you can see the mother. Her name's Jenny Lim, and this is actually just half of her children. She has 8 children. And her husband is a vegetable vendor, which means he sells vegetables just on the street. So he's on the street all day working, and she's at home with her kids. And this is their whole house. This is very typical for a Filipino family. So this is their living room, this is their kitchen, this is their bedroom. How many of you, put your hand up quietly, how many of you have your own bedroom at home? Okay? How many of you share a bedroom with one or two other people? Okay, a few of you. Maybe a sibling. How many of you share a bedroom with 9 other people? Nobody. Nobody does. But that's very common here. So they all share one room. Do you think they have a bed?
No.
No, so they may sleep on a thin mat on the floor. Jam actually grew up similar to this. Now, do you think that Jenna Lynn, the mother, do you think that she has an oven? Stove? Put up your hand if you can tell me how you think she would cook. How does she cook their food if they don't have an oven or a stove?
Over fire?
Over fire, that's absolutely correct. Do you think that Jenny Lynn has a washing machine?
No.
How do you think that Jenny Lynn would wash her clothes? Yes?
She would dry it and then put water over it and then hang it up somewhere.
Yeah, good, good. She's going to put water on it. How do you think she does it without a machine, though? Good answer. Yes?
Go to the river.
She may go to a river. That's a very good answer. In this community, there is no river nearby, and they don't have running water. So she actually goes somewhere. Do you know what this is? Yeah, a water pump. So some people go to a nearby pump or somewhere where they can fill a big bucket with water, and then she would bring that home and she would wash all of their clothes just by hand, with her hands. That's how Jim would wash her clothes growing up too. So for all 8 of her children, she would do that. And also, do you think they have a television?
No.
No. Do you think they have even light bulbs?
No.
They actually don't even have electricity either. So no running water, no electricity. So sometimes we take for granted all the things that we have. Just imagine not having television, laptop, tablet, all of those things. So very simple lifestyle. And Jenny Lynn is very happy that we help her kids go to school. So in the next picture, you'll see, after that early childhood program, then kids go to our preschool. And there are no free preschools in the Philippines, so if you come from a poor family, you can't afford to go to preschool. That's why we offer ours for free. But many kids and parents really want to send their kids to preschool. Why? Well, in elementary schools, in public schools in the Philippines, if you want to enroll in kindergarten or grade 1, you actually have to pass an entrance exam. Do you guys remember doing an exam before you went to kindergarten or grade 1? Most of you probably not. So kids, to enroll, they have to show that they can write their name, show that they know their numbers, their alphabet, and remember, many of their parents have never been to elementary school. So that can be really difficult. So what we do is we're teaching these kids those very basic things, numbers, alphabets, so that they can pass that exam and be prepared for school. And then on the next slide, you'll see, this is one of our preschool classes. And yeah, pretty cute. Next picture, okay, going back one, sorry. So after preschool, I mentioned that they have public school in the Philippines. However, so these are some elementary age kids. They could be in grade 6. After preschool, they would go to public school. However, children from poor families like Jenny Lynn's family, their kids aren't able to go to school, even though they don't have to pay tuition. Now, this is a public school. You don't have to pay your teachers. Actually, the government pays your teachers, and your teachers are very happy to teach you guys. Your parents don't pay for that. But here, with public schools, why do you think so many poor children aren't going to school? Quietly put up your hand if you could tell me even just one reason why you think children might not be able to go to public school in the Philippines. Yes? Good answer. It may be too far away. Put up your hand if you've ever ridden a school bus before. So they have buses in the Philippines, but they're not free. So if it's too far away to walk, and you can't afford the bus, because the school bus isn't free in the Philippines, then you can't go to school. What do you think might be another reason why kids like this can't go to public school? Yes?
They have chores to do.
Good answer. They may have chores to do at home. Maybe their parents are both working and they're the only ones at home to look after their younger siblings. Yes?
Maybe like their parents, like if you have to pay school, their parents don't have money to send them to school.
Maybe their parents don't have money to send them to school, but the school is free. What do they need money for?
For buying supplies and like clothes and stuff.
Good answer, great answer. So many of these kids can't afford school supplies. So just think when you have a project and you need Bristol board or pencil crayons, I'm sure your teacher or school doesn't always provide that. Sometimes maybe your parents buy those things. And these kids, their parents can't afford that. So they can't afford the materials to do assignments and projects. So then they can't submit their assignments and projects. And they actually drop out in grade 2, grade 3. Or what do you think these kids are wearing? Yes? Yeah, with your hand up there. Yeah?
Uniforms?
Uniforms. Every school in the Philippines has uniforms, even public schools. It's required to wear a uniform, and the kids and their parents have to pay for them. So a lot of kids can't afford to buy uniforms. So we have this program, it's a sponsorship program, where we pay for all of those little things so that these kids can go to school. So we pay for their bus transportation every day, we pay for their uniforms, we pay for their school supplies. We also pay for their lunch money. Another reason why many kids aren't going to school is because they're embarrassed to come to school without a lunch. They can't afford to bring a lunch. So we pay for that too. And then on the next slide, so these are some of the children that we're hoping to sponsor to go to school. Now, when we send kids to public schools, their public school is very different from Lester B. Pearson. How many of you have ever had 80 kids in one classroom? You had 50? That's pretty big. Okay, probably not 80. So some kids in the Philippines, their public schools have 80 kids in just one class. So imagine everyone in this room. So that's about maybe three classes here. Imagine that you were all in one big class with just one teacher. No assistant, no helper. Have you ever experienced where you needed help from your teacher and they were busy, they weren't able to help you? Okay, that's absolutely normal. That happens because even with 20 kids or more, sometimes your teachers are very, very busy. Imagine if you had 80 classmates. Do you think your teacher would ever have time for you? No, these children, when they go to school, get zero one-on-one attention. So if you're struggling with your homework, struggling to understand, you can't ask the teacher for help. Or if you're really smart and doing really well and you need a little extra help, a little extra work, you won't get that as well. So another problem with having 80 kids in one classroom is the teacher doesn't have time to mark a lot of assignments. How many of you like multiple choice tests? Some of you? Yeah? So actually, almost everything is multiple choice because the teacher only has time to write things on the blackboard, the kids copy it down, memorize it, and just answer multiple choice questions because the teachers don't have time to be able to mark assignments, papers. But the problem with that is these children, they don't get to learn really good thinking skills. Do you know critical thinking? Can someone tell me what critical thinking is? Yes?
I like thinking outside the box.
Thinking outside the box? Well, if you're only memorizing things on the blackboard and then just answering multiple choice questions, you don't get to do a lot of critical thinking. They don't get to think that hard. So that's a really sad thing about the schools there. And on the next picture, so because they have 80 kids in a classroom, no one-on-one attention, what we do is we do these after-school programs. They're called Nightlife. So this is Jam helping out one of our kids, Santa, with her assignment. Because at our after-school program, here's the place where they can get that attention from some of our teachers. And then on the next slide, what else do you think we do at this Nightlife program, this after-school program? Yeah? We feed them. Often dinner, whether it's a healthy meal or a healthy snack. Now, what do you think when they come to our center here, we have electricity, we have running water, they don't have running water at home. What else do you think the kids might want to do if they come to a place that has running water? Just imagine, some of you are raising your hands. Imagine if you didn't have running water at home, and every day you're raising your hand, you might catch a whiff, you might smell something not great. What do you think these kids would love to do after many weeks without running water? Yes?
Shower.
Take a shower. So we even actually have shower rooms where these kids will have a shower when they come to our after-school program, because they can't do that at home. And then on the next picture, I want to talk about another big problem in the Philippines. So out-of-school youth is a big problem. I talked about how many kids, they're dropping out of school at grade 2, grade 3 because they can't afford the school supplies, the bus, uniforms. So these are kids that are now 18, 19 years old, and it's too late for them to go back to school. So even if I wanted to sponsor them, it would be really strange and awkward to put a 19-year-old in a grade 6 classroom or a 19-year-old in a grade 1 classroom. That would be really weird. So what we do is we actually tutor them to pass these exams. There's a high school equivalency exam and an elementary school equivalency exam. It actually covers everything that you would learn in elementary school and high school. If they pass this big exam, then it's like having a high school diploma. It's like graduating. So we have to, in the next slide, you'll actually see, if we're not tutoring them, not helping them pass that exam, this is what many of these youth will be doing for the rest of their lives. What do you think they're doing here, these street youth? Yes?
Looking through garbage.
Looking through garbage. Yeah, maybe for food. She said looking through garbage, maybe for food. What else do you think they may be looking for if they're not in school? What else do you think they may be looking for? Yeah, maybe looking for things to sell. Did you have an answer too?
I would say the stuff that they can use around in the house.
Absolutely. Maybe some things that people have thrown away that they could still use. And you mentioned stuff they could sell. So what they're mostly looking for is recyclable materials. There's no blue bin, there's no recycling in the Philippines. So they're looking for plastic bottles, metals, paper, and then they sell that to these places called junk shops in the Philippines. And the junk shops will give them just a few coins for giving them some recyclable materials. And so they use that money just to be able to feed themselves. But would you like to have that kind of a job?
No.
No, none of us would love that job. And me and Jam get really sad when we see these youth grow up. Some of them are already, sometimes we see 70, 80-year-old people that are still, we call it scavenging through the garbage for things they can sell. So this is what happens for Filipinos that don't get to go to school. So that's why our heart is really to help these poor Filipinos be able to go to school. Because if they finish school, then they may be able to go to college or university or get a job. And then they never have to do this. They'll be able to have a good job doing something maybe that they would actually enjoy doing. And then on the next slide, you will see, so this is my staff, Gabby, Filipino, who's tutoring these youth to be able to pass that exam. And then on the next slide, you'll see, this is something new that my staff, Gabby, just started doing. He's also teaching these street youth music. So teaching them guitar lessons, drums. And I want to tell you a quick story before I finish about one boy. So this boy in the middle with the dark blue guitar, his name is Jassy. And Jassy, I met Jassy back in 2012. You'll see in the next picture. When I first met Jassy, him and his family didn't even have a home. They were actually literally living on the street. And this is Jassy with his younger brother. So Jassy's sitting on the bed. His younger brother Joven, and his younger sister Jasmine. You can see they have this one mattress, and it's even dirty, soiled for their whole family. He has a mother, he has an older brother as well. His older brother and mother are selling things in the street, trying to earn some money for their food. But all of them, when I met them, weren't in school. And just really hoping that they could go to school one day. You'll see in the next picture, this is literally where they were living. Under this highway. Yeah, just to kind of have some shelter when it would rain. And then in the next picture, actually, my parents, this is my dad and my mom, they came to visit me that year. That was the first time my parents came to see me in the Philippines. And so we talked to Jassie's mom. Now, Jassie actually, his father passed away just before I met them. And his father was what we call in the Philippines the breadwinner. What do you think that means if someone in the family is the breadwinner? Yes?
The one that makes the most money.
The one that probably makes the most money, that's the one who's literally winning the bread or putting the food on the table. The one who earns the money to be able to feed the family, to get shelter for the family. So Jassie, here in the middle, Jassie's father passed away. And since he was the one earning the income, once his father passed away of a heart attack, they couldn't go to school, they couldn't even have a home. So that's why they started living on the street. However, we talked to Jassie's mom and we said we would love to help your kids go to school. So Jassie was able to go to that after-school program called Nightlife. His younger brother Jobin went to the Early Childhood Education Center. His sister Jasmine went to our preschool. And you'll see in the next picture, eventually we were able to find a donor so that Jassie could join that sponsorship program so we could pay for his school supplies, uniform every year. And Jassie was so happy to be able to finally go to school. Imagine being your age and you haven't been able to go to school your whole life. Put up your hand if you're happy that you get to go to school every day. So a lot of you are happy. Now remember, there are kids in the Philippines, they are jealous of you. They wish they could go to school. Imagine, do you think if you were home all day, or especially if you lived on the street all day, do you think you would get bored after 10, 11 years of not being able to go to school? It would probably get pretty boring, and you wouldn't be learning very much. So Jassie, at that age, was just so happy to finally get to go to school. And in the next picture, you'll see every single year he was getting new school supplies, uniform, and just grateful to go to school. And then in the next picture, Jassie's family, they actually were able to move to a community. So because we were helping the family send their kids to school, and remember that costs money. For them, it's a lot of money, the bus, school supplies. Because the mother didn't have to think of those costs, all of her money was able to go to them finding a home, and they moved into this community. Now this looks very simple. This is called a squatter community. They don't own the land, they just build like a shack, just wood, very simple materials. And there's actually 50 families that were living in this community. It looks small, but their homes are stacked up to 3 or 4 levels high. And so Jassie's family finally moved from being literally living on the street to living in this community. So it was a little bit of an improvement in their living conditions. And do you see that tower at the top of the page? What is that? Do you know what that is? Yes? Yep, good answer. It looks like something, you've seen the towers that have the long wires. That's an electric tower. So no one else is going to put their home there except for the very poorest of the poor. So they built their homes around that electric tower. Actually, many of the homes would have the big metal girders, the metal stand of the tower going right through the middle of their home. Imagine having big metal poles going right through your bedroom. So that's what it's like for these families. And in the next picture, you see another view of that community. There's that big electric tower. So Jassie and his family moved to that community. However, earlier this year, there was a big fire. It destroyed the whole community. So in the next picture, this is when I arrived. This community was right beside our center. So when I arrived to work that morning, this is what I saw. In less than an hour, the fire started at 8 a.m. By 8:45, the whole community was gone. This is what it looked like. So 50 families, it's actually 400 people lived in that community. They all lost their homes, they lost everything. However, I think it was a miracle that no one was actually injured. And you've got infants, you've got babies, you've got elderly, and they all had to get out in 45 minutes. Most Filipinos, when they're at home, it's so hot, they don't even wear socks or shoes or sandals. Many of them didn't have time to get their sandals. They just ran outside, so they even lost their sandals. They were just in bare feet, whatever clothes they were wearing at the time, that's all that they had. And in the next picture you'll see, here's Jassie, that boy again. And he's watching, I took this picture several months ago, watching as all of a sudden his family were so grateful to have a home, but they lost it, and they lost everything. And so this was a very difficult time for obviously our community and for me and Jam and our team. And in the next slide you'll see, even though our focus is education, we were kind of stretched out of our comfort zone, and we realized right now the priority for those families is not sending their kids to school because they just lost their home. And lost everything. So what we did is we were able to raise funds. Again, charities raise funds to help people. So we raised funds so that we could give what we call these emergency relief kits. So what do you think some of these kits? Now these pink Hello Kitty bags, the pink and red bags have toys for the kids. Stuffed animals, different toys. But these bigger purple and blue bags on the floor, what do you think we needed to give these families if they lost everything? Yes?
Maybe some clothes.
Yeah, good answer. We gave them clothes. That's a very important thing. To lose all your clothes, you need that. What else would these families need if they lost everything? Yes? Shoes. Good answer. Shoes. Or sandals, because they're in a very hot climate. Yes? Money. We actually did give them some money also, because sometimes we don't think of all the needs that they have. Yeah? Food and water. So a lot of canned food, rice. Most Filipinos in the Philippines eat rice every meal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's a very important part of their meal. So we gave all of them a big sack of rice. What else do you think they might need? Yes?
Me?
Yeah.
Hygiene.
Hygiene, very good. So soap, shampoo, toothbrushes, toothpaste. I'll take one more. Yes, at the back? Yeah.
A bed.
Very good. So again, you saw many of these families don't even have beds. So what we gave them is pillows, bedding, sheets. They're comfortable sleeping on the floor. I wish we could have afforded to give them all a bed. But we gave them that for now, because remember, they're also homeless. If we gave them a bed, they wouldn't have anywhere to put it. So for a while, these families were homeless. In the next picture, you'll see us getting at these relief kits. And then in the next photo, you'll see this is an evacuation center. So the government said 50 families, they lost their home. They said you can stay here. It's just actually an open pavilion. It doesn't even have walls, just a roof. So at night, again, think of a hot climate. They're getting eaten by mosquitoes every night. And so we felt bad for these families. We said, okay, all the children and youth can live in our center. So parents were staying here. All of these things you see here are just donated relief goods, because remember, they lost everything. And literally, me and my Filipino staff, we had to rotate shifts. Who would sleep at the center with the kids? Now, what's really incredible about, I'll make time for a few questions at the end. What's really incredible about this time is what happened to Jassy. So just remember, Jassy, his father died, and they had to live on the street for a while. And then he was finally able to go to school. His family got a house, and then they lost their house in the fire. If I were Jassy, I would probably be pretty sad, maybe even depressed after all of that. But in this next photo, so Jassy and the kids were staying at a drop-in center, remember, homeless. Jassy said, I want to volunteer at IT Tender, just like John and Jam. I want to help out. So what do you think Jassy is doing with this other younger boy here? He said, I want to volunteer. Yes? Yeah? He's teaching. Good answer. She said he's teaching. So he's actually helping this little boy with his homework. So Jassy became a volunteer. In the next photo, so Jassy is actually now regularly volunteering. He's becoming quite a young leader. And we were so grateful, because when people gave for these emergency relief kits, people were actually so generous that we were able to provide homes and what we call livelihoods to the families. So this is Jassy and his mother, Priscilla. We were actually able to find them a home, and this may look very simple. For the very first time, they have a home with 4 concrete walls. You see those blocks. So remember, they went from living on the street to living in this, wooden shanty stacked up to 3 levels high, and now they have their own house. Looks simple to us, but they are just so grateful. And to them, this is a very big house. And now, I also mentioned we help them with livelihood or a business because they have to be able to, again, put food on the table. Some of them are renting homes, these families that we found homes. So we asked Priscilla, what kind of a livelihood or business would she like to have to be the breadwinner, to support her family? And she said, this is what I want, this thing that we built on the front of her home. What do you think that is? Any ideas? If you look at that thing we built on their home, is the boy in the blue shirt there?
It's kind of like a corner store.
Perfect, exactly. It's a little corner store. It's a little convenience store. So Jassie's mother now sells snacks, soap and shampoo, rice, different things for people in the community. That's how she's able to support her family. And Jassie keeps going to school. In the next photo you'll see, we recently sent Jassie and a bunch of our other sponsor youth to this leadership camp. So Jassie is just this young leader that we're so proud of. And before I open it up to some questions, I'll show one more photo. This is our dream. Actually, we're planning to build a school because I talked about how public schools there are very overwhelmed. They're underfunded, 80 kids in a classroom sometimes. Actually, it's so overpopulated in Manila, in the Philippines, that they have 2 full school days in one day. So what that means is there's so many kids going to public school, half of the kids will go to school from like 5 or 6 a.m. until lunch, and then the other half will go from around 1 p.m. to 7 because they have to fit 2 full school days into one day. And our dream is to have a smaller private school, 20 kids in a classroom. Again, we'd be sponsoring kids to be able to go to this school so that we can really do critical thinking. They can actually get one-on-one attention. That's our dream. And so that is it for me sharing about what we did. Maybe one more thing before I take a couple questions. Just a little bit more time. Thanks for the applause. That's good. Did anyone see that there's some trinkets up here? Some things up here? Okay. You can all shout out. What do you think this is? Flag. This is the Filipino flag. Okay. Now, quietly raise your hand if you think you could tell me what this might be. This is something, obviously this is just a toy, but I see the bigger version of this every day in the Philippines, all the time. Yes?
A truck that's harder than a word.
Yeah. It's like a truck. It's like a truck. But a truck is something that you would, only fits a few people. This actually fits a lot of people. Who do you think is riding in this every day? Yes? It's actually very much like a school bus. This is called a jeepney. And it's a big Jeep. It has 2 big benches. Sorry, it's small. 2 big benches inside and fits a lot of people. So some people ride this to go to work, and even kids ride. Some of them are painted yellow, like a school bus. Kids ride jeepneys to go to school. And it's just like, have you been to the Philippines before?
Not really. I think I've ridden in similar. It's kind of great, but it has like 2 big spray seats, like you said.
Very neat. And things like this there's similar things like this in Cambodia, Thailand, other nearby countries. So that's a jeepney. What do you think this is? I see these all the time too. Yes, in the sweater, the Adidas sweater. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Yes? Very good answer. This is kind of like a Filipino version of a taxi. There are taxis there, especially for someone who can't afford to ride a taxi. So you see there's a bicycle. So the driver literally drives a bicycle, and then there's this little sidecar where the passenger sits inside. So if I want to get to my destination and I can't afford a taxi, it's kind of far, I'll pay someone a few pennies just to be able to ride. I can sit back, lounge back in this chair, and someone will drive me to where I need to go. Here's another one. So Christmas is also very popular in the Philippines. Not everyone celebrates Christmas, but people get excited for Christmas in the Philippines actually as early as September 1. If you go to the mall, they're playing Christmas music. That's how much they love the holidays there. So this is a Christmas ornament. It's a Christmas tree. But can anyone quietly put up their hand and tell me what you think it's made of? What do you think this little ornament is made of? Yes? Brass, good answer. It looks kind of shiny. It's not brass. Yes?
Is it made of seashells or something?
Wow, that's the first time someone's actually got the correct answer. So it's not man-made. It's actually made out of shells from the ocean. It's called the capiche shell that's found in the ocean in the Philippines. Okay, so that's enough of those. So why don't we take a few questions? I think there's a little bit of time. So does anyone have any questions about the Philippines, about me and Jam and what we do at IT Tender, our charity, anything? Yeah?
What would you say to someone if they asked you, how do you start?
How to start a charity? It's a great question. So the question was, what would I say to someone who said they wanted to start a charity? Now, I've actually thought of this myself. I think nowadays a lot of people want to start something new. But what I learned when I moved to the Philippines, I realized it would be much smarter if I partnered with someone who was already who had experience and running a charity for a long time. So even me, I thought it would be really exciting to start a new charity, but I found my Filipino team who've been teaching street kids for many years, and I realized that what the world needs more of is not necessarily a whole lot of new charities, but people helping existing charities. So I would recommend to that person, I would say, find a charity that you're passionate about. If you're passionate about animals, or the environment, or children in poverty, do some research, find a charity you're interested about, find out how you could help that charity. Maybe it's joining that charity, helping them get bigger, expand. Great question. Yes?
When you say you want, you need somebody to fundraise,
Yeah.
no, you need some you pick somebody, sponsors.
Sponsors,
When
the
you
donors.
say that, do you mean around the world, like you have a site and then somebody would start saying, I will pay for this person, I will give this person food, I will send over some clothes. Would that be like having somebody do that? That's what you mean?
Exactly, so good question. She's talking about how does it work? We have sponsors, we've had donors that give, or do they say, I want to give to this person? So Jam and I are actually, when we're here at your school, we're not raising funds. We're not asking for money, but Jam and I are actually speaking at a whole bunch of other groups. And when we speak at other places to adults, we're actually looking for people who will sponsor a child to go to school. So the way it works is when we find a donor, someone who says, I want to help out, they don't get to choose that child because we actually have social workers, we have Filipinos that do research on our families and decide this family is even more poor than that family, or this family has 10 kids and could really use help sending one of their kids to school. So we actually have like a waiting list of kids that are not in school, all different ages, that are just hoping for a donor to send money monthly that would send them to school. So what we do is we find adults who can sponsor those kids, and we say, this is the kid at the top of the list. So that's exactly right. So me and my staff are actually all volunteer. We volunteer. It's not important that we make a lot of money, and we find people that can donate to run our programs. Next question.
In the Philippines, do they ever do child labor, or are they always at school and learning?
Great question. So child labor is a problem in the Philippines, and one thing that's you may have noticed, scavenging, would you call that child labor? What do you think? I heard some no's, I heard kind of. Are those kids, when you're scavenging, do you think that takes work?
Yes.
Yes. Do you think someone who's maybe 7 years old, 18 years, or 7 or 8 years old, and are scavenging, should they be in school?
Yes.
They should be in school. So even scavenging, at least my opinion is that is child labor. And sometimes parents are encouraging their kids to do that because they can't afford to go to school. So scavenging, you may even think of scavenging as child labor. There are some sad cases where kids are very, very young working in factories or making clothes, doing jobs that are really not for children. So child labor is a problem in the Philippines. That's a really good question. Yes?
I actually have a connection to this. Like in March, I went to Dominican for a week, and we went on this excursion, and we went to a school for the kids, and we brought some toys for them. So we brought some baseballs and some other things for them, and we got to go see what it was like for the kids to be in school. And we went into a kindergarten class, and then we got to see how like their house and everything, and how they live.
What's your name?
My name's Babe.
Okay, Maeve. So Maeve was saying that she went to the Dominican. Was this with family?
Yep.
With her family. And what's really great is sometimes you can go to a different country, maybe on vacation, maybe on a mission trip. But what's great is that they were able to actually go see the schools, give some things out to the children, some things that they could use or be happy to have. That's really neat. Yes? Yeah.
So my parents used to be like a missionary.
Mhm.
We went to everywhere,
Yeah.
and they wanted to see
Yeah. That's amazing. So her parents used to be missionaries in Ecuador, right? That's really neat. Does anyone else have a question? Yeah, at the back.
Do they celebrate Halloween in the Philippines?
Good question. So Halloween isn't very popular in the Philippines, but Jen knows it's starting to get a little bit more and more popular. That's why I think they start celebrating Christmas as early as September, because Halloween isn't big, they don't have Thanksgiving. So really, they're already excited for Christmas because there's no other big holidays before then. Yes?
I have two questions, but
Mhm.
the first one is, how many kids have you like helped, and how many kids are like on the waiting list right now?
Great question. So we've actually helped hundreds of kids. So our organization, IT Tender, has been running since 2000. So I would say probably around 400 or 500 kids have graduated through our programs, and many of them have gone on to find jobs. And so their families, what's really wonderful about Filipinos is when they turn 18, 19, and they get a job, they're actually giving a lot of the money to their younger siblings so they can go to school, or even to their parents if their parents don't have work. So many people have been helped. And right now, there's probably about 50 children that are waiting for someone just to send them to school that are in our records, that are on that waiting list that you mentioned. I'll take just one more question. Just one more. Yes, in the glasses? Okay, sure, yeah, you can have two questions.
I'm just wondering on how much money do you put into this,
Mhm.
and how much kids go there every day?
Good question. Okay, so one of the questions was, are kids going there every day?
Like how much?
Oh, how many? Yep, so we have in our early childhood center, there's 10 kids. In the preschool, 10 kids. That sponsorship program, we're sending over 40 kids to school now. And then after school programs, up to 50 kids. And then we're also tutoring often around 15, 20 youth to pass that high school equivalency exam. And then in terms of, you also asked about how much funds we're raising. So the sponsorship program, sponsoring a child to go to school, only costs $25 a month. So that covers all their school supplies, uniform, bus money, annual events like a Christmas party, field trip. And then other people also give just to our other programs. But great question. And before I wrap up, just teachers, I love some newsletters out there. There's two, a small one about our school and a bigger one about the sponsorship program. If you want to know more about what we do, feel free to grab one. My info's on there too. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing. It's awesome, David. Assuming. No, it's pretty amazing. So, thank you.
Thank you too.